You see, life doesn't change just because we want it to. It changes because we decide it must. Wishing is cheap. Everyone does it. But thinking, deep, deliberate thinking, that's rare. And that's where real change begins. People wish for a better job, a healthier body, a stronger relationship, more peace of mind. But if wishing alone made it happen, we'd all have it by now. The real difference isn't in what you want, it's in how seriously you think about what you want and what you're willing to do to get there. Thinking transforms a vague desire into a vision, and that vision, when committed to paper, becomes a goal. But it doesn't stop there. A goal without a plan is just another wish wearing a tuxedo. You need a map. You need dates. You need deadlines. You need to break that goal down into bite-sized actions you can do today, not some. You've got to sit quietly and ask yourself, what do I want? Not what do others expect? Not what society claps for. What do I truly want? That's where it all begins. Because clarity is power. Once the picture becomes clear, you begin to see what's missing. The skills, the connections, the courage. And instead of getting discouraged, you start building. You start thinking, what kind of person would have this kind of result? What do I need to become? You see, goals aren't just about getting, they're about growing. When you truly think like a goal setter, every step you take becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. You move from passive hope to active pursuit. You replace excuses with execution, distraction with discipline, procrastination with progress. It's not about waiting for the stars to align. It's about realizing that you are the one holding the telescope. Aim it deliberately. Align it intentionally. Don't just leave your future to chance. Shape it with strategy. Turn your wishing into structured thinking. Build a plan. Track your progress. Adjust when needed. But keep moving. Because those who think clearly and act consistently are the ones who build the life most only dream about. So don't wish. Think. Then plan. Then do. That's how real success is born. Wishing is something we all do. It's easy. It flows from emotion. When we're tired of how things are, when we feel stuck or uninspired, we wish. We wish for a better life, more money, stronger relationships, greater peace. But wishing doesn't require effort. It only needs a moment of longing. It's passive. It's emotional. It gives a spark, but no firewood. Now, goal setting, that's a different game. That's not based on how you feel. It's based on what you've decided. Setting a goal means you've gone beyond the emotion of I wish into the clarity of I will. It means you've thought about what you want, why you want it, and what it will take to make it real. That's not emotional. That's intentional. Wishing says, I hope it happens. Goal setter says, here's what I'm going to do, by when, and how. Wishing keeps you dreaming. Goal setting gets you moving. One is comfort food for the mind. The other is a call to discipline. Emotion can inspire the start, but intention builds the structure. You can wish all day for a stronger body, but the goal setter writes the workout schedule and sticks to it. You can wish for wealth, but the goal setter builds the budget, learns the skills, and tracks the growth. You can wish for better relationships, but the goal setter decides to show up, listen more, communicate clearer, and set boundaries when needed. One path feels good in the moment. The other creates results over time. So the question isn't, what do you wish would change? The question is, what have you decided to do about it? Because the day you turn your wish into a goal is the day everything begins to change. That's the moment you stop leaving your life to chance and start shaping it by choice. Most people walk through life with a vague sense of what they want. They say things like, I just want to be happy, or I'd love to be successful, or I want more out of life. And while those words sound good, they don't mean much. Not until you define them. Not until you sit down, take some time, and say exactly what that looks like. You can't hit a target you haven't clearly identified. You wouldn't get in your car and start driving without knowing where you're going. Yet people do that with their lives every single day. Moving fast, staying busy, working hard. but they don't even know where they're headed. And then they wonder why they feel unfulfilled, why they never arrive. It's because they never set the destination. If you want change, if you want progress, you've got to get specific, not general, specific. Don't say, I want to be rich. Say, I want to earn $100,000, 0 cents a year, doing work I enjoy within the next 2 years. Don't say, I want to be in shape. Say, I want to weigh 140 pounds, feel energetic and exercise 4 times a week. Don't say, I want a better relationship. Say, I want a relationship where I feel heard, respected, and emotionally safe, and I'll do my part to create that. Clarity is power. When you define exactly what you want, you give your brain a command. You start filtering your decisions through that lens. You begin to notice opportunities you used to ignore. You act differently because your mind now has a job, a direction, and direction makes all the difference. When you're vague, life responds vaguely. When you're specific, life begins to open up. It's almost like the world starts to work with you. You start attracting what you've committed to, not because of magic, but because your mind is now focused. Your energy is now concentrated, and your efforts are now aligned. But here's the real secret. When you define what you want, you also define what you no longer accept. You stop wasting time on distractions that don't lead to your goal. You stop saying yes to people or habits that pull you away from your vision. Your life becomes simpler, more intentional, and more meaningful. Defining what you want also forces you to confront the truth. Because once you say what you want, really say it, you'll also have to ask, am I willing to do what it takes? Am I ready to grow into the person who can achieve it? Vague wishes let you off the hook. Clear goals demand action. They demand change, and change is where all the growth is. Now, defining what you want doesn't mean you'll get it all overnight, but it gives you a direction, and direction always beats drift. It gives you a compass to measure your steps. You can course correct, you can reevaluate, but you can't do any of that until you first decide where you're going. This is not just about material things. It's about your whole life. What kind of person do you want to be? How do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? What do you want your days to look like? Who do you want around you? What kind of contribution do you want to make? What legacy do you want to leave? These questions deserve real answers, not borrowed dreams, not someone else's expectations, but your own vision. And the beautiful thing is, once you define it, you can start building it. You can reverse engineer your life. You can set milestones. You can track progress. You can celebrate growth. But it all begins with clarity. So don't leave your goals in the clouds. Bring them down to earth. Define them. Describe them. Write them out. Speak them out loud. Look at them every day. Let them guide your actions and shape your mindset. Because the moment you define exactly what you want, life starts to get clearer. And with clarity comes power. And with power comes movement. And that's when change truly begins. There's something powerful, almost magical that happens when you take a thought from your mind and transfer it onto paper. It's not just a scribble, it's a signal, a message to yourself and to the world that says, I'm serious. You see, ideas are slippery. Goals, even when they feel strong in the moment, tend to drift. You can have the most brilliant vision in your mind today, and by next week it's faded into the background, lost in the noise of everyday life. That's why writing your goals down is not just a good habit, it's a discipline that separates the dreamers from the doers. When you write a goal, you give it structure, you give it a shape, a name, a face. It's no longer just a fleeting thought floating in your imagination. It becomes visible, real, measurable. And something real can be built. Something visible can be tracked. Writing a goal is the first step in turning an invisible desire into a visible result. It becomes your blueprint, your instruction manual for action. The written goal is your anchor when motivation fades, your reminder when you're tempted to quit, and your compass when life throws distractions your way. You'll notice something else too. The very act of writing forces you to clarify. You may think you know what you want, But when you try to put it in words, you'll often find yourself refining it, making it more precise. That clarity alone is worth its weight in gold. Because vague goals produce vague effort, and vague effort leads to vague results. Think of it this way. Would you trust a builder who starts construction without a blueprint? Of course not. Yet many people try to build their lives without ever putting their goals into writing. They hope, they talk, they imagine, but they never write. And because of that, they never follow through. Writing your goals does something else most people don't expect. It keeps you accountable, not to the world, to yourself. You see it on the page. You can't pretend you didn't say it. You can't back out quietly. It's there in black and white, looking back at you every time you open your notebook or journal. And sometimes that's all it takes to remind you of the promise you made to yourself. You don't have to write a novel. Start simple. I want to save $5,000, 0 cents by the end of the year. I want to lose 15 pounds by October. I want to read 1 book per month. That's it. But write it down. Then take it a step further. Write why you want it. Making decisions that align with what's on that page. It's not magic, it's focus. Writing creates focus. And focus leads to action. The great thing is, you don't need any fancy system. A piece of paper will do. A notebook, a whiteboard, your phone. Just don't leave it floating in your head. That's not where serious plans live. That's where excuses hide. Revisit your written goals often. Read them in the morning. Reflect on them at night. Let them guide your daily choices. If they're big goals, break them down into smaller ones. If they seem far off, create a timeline. If they feel scary, that's okay. Big goals should stretch you, but writing them gives you a place to start. And once you achieve one, cross it off and write a new one. Keep that momentum. Keep stretching. Keep building the habit of thinking on paper. Because when your life is guided by written goals, you don't drift. You drive. You don't just react, you lead. So don't just think it. Don't just say it. Write it. That's the step that changes everything. One of the biggest reasons people give up on their goals is because the goal feels too big, too distant, too overwhelming. They look at where they are and then look at where they want to be, and the space in between feels impossible. That's when doubt creeps in. That's when procrastination begins to feel safer than progress. And that's where most dreams quietly fade away. But here's the truth. Goals don't get done all at once. You don't leap from where you are to where you want to be in one giant jump. No, you build a bridge, one step at a time. And that bridge is made up of actions, small, daily, deliberate actions. That's the secret. You take that big goal and break it down until you can see the pieces, until you can do something today that moves you forward. You want to write a book? Don't just put write a book on your goal list and stare at it. That's not a goal. That's a mountain with no trail. Break it down. Start with outline the chapters, then write for 30 minutes every day. Then write chapter 1 by the end of the week. Now you've got something you can do. Now you've got movement. You want to lose weight? Don't just say get in shape. Break that goal into actions. Drink more water. Walk for 20 minutes after dinner. Join a gym by Friday. Cook a healthy meal at home 3 times this week. That's what gets results. Not the idea of fitness, but the action plan behind it. When you take the time to break your goals into bite-sized tasks, 2 powerful things happen. First, the goal stops feeling intimidating. And second, you gain a sense of control. You no longer feel like you're hoping for something. You feel like you're building something. Here's something important to remember. Action builds confidence. A lot of people are waiting to feel motivated before they start. But motivation is like a visitor. It doesn't always show up on time. Discipline and action are the ones who live with you. When you take a small action, even when you don't feel ready, you build momentum. And that momentum feeds your confidence. And that confidence fuels the next action. The trick is to keep it practical. If your action list feels just as overwhelming as your big goal, you're still stuck in theory. Break it down. Again, go smaller if you have to. Make the phone call. Send the email. Watch a 10-minute video on the skill. That's how you build consistency. That's how you train your brain to stop waiting for perfect conditions and start working with what you have. Another benefit? When your goal is broken into actions, you get to track progress. You get to see results stacking up. And results, no matter how small, are addictive. They remind you that you're not standing still. Even setbacks feel different when you're focused on actions. You don't say, I failed at my goal. You say, that strategy didn't work, let's adjust. That's the mindset of someone who keeps going. Someone who finishes what they start. Here's something else to consider. When your actions are clear, your time becomes more valuable. You don't waste hours wondering what to do next. You have a list. You have a plan. That kind of clarity brings focus. And focus is what separates people who are busy from people who are productive. And let's not forget, life has a way of getting in the way. Distractions will come, challenges will show up. If your goal is just an idea in your mind, it'll fade when things get tough. But if you've broken it into clear, daily actions, you can still show up, even on the hard days, even when energy is low, even when life gets noisy. So don't leave your goals sitting on the shelf as lofty wishes. Take them down, break them open, divide them, organize them, translate them into real actions you can take every single day. That's how things get done. That's how dreams get built. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you want that determines your future, it's what you're willing to do about it. One small action at a time. If there's one thing that turns a goal into a moving target, it's the lack of a deadline. A goal without a deadline is like a race without a finish line. You just keep running, but you never know when you're supposed to arrive. That's why some people stay busy year after year, but never actually cross the line. They're always working on it, always getting around to it, but never really arriving. Deadlines are what give your goals structure. They turn someday into a date. They give your intentions urgency. They push you to act, not just think. Without a deadline, a goal remains a wish, a hopeful thought floating around, waiting for the perfect moment that never seems to come. But once you assign a time frame, everything changes. Now there's pressure. Now there's planning. Now there's movement. Let's be honest. We all operate better under some kind of pressure. Not the kind that breaks us, but the kind that sharpens us. You know the difference. You've seen how focused you become when the tax deadline approaches or when a project is due tomorrow. All of a sudden, you find time. You figure things out. You make it happen. Why? Because there's a clock ticking. There's an end point, and the mind responds to that. Now imagine applying that same pressure, that same focus to your personal goals. Imagine what would happen if instead of saying, I want to get healthier, you said, by the end of the next 90 days, I'll have lost 10 pounds. That's not just a wish. That's a measurable goal with a countdown. And that countdown keeps you honest. It doesn't let you drift too far before it reminds you, hey, time's moving. Are you? Deadlines force awareness, and awareness leads to better decisions. Now, some people say, but what if I miss the deadline? That's fine. You're not a machine. You're human. But even if you fall short, you'll still be miles ahead of where you would have been if you never set a date at all. A missed deadline isn't failure, it's feedback. It tells you what to improve, how to plan better next time, where your real priorities lie. And here's the truth. Most people don't miss deadlines because they aimed too high. They miss deadlines because they didn't respect them. They treated them like suggestions, not commitments. If you want your goals to mean something, you have to treat your deadlines like promises, not just to the calendar, but to yourself. Another benefit? Deadlines kill procrastination. When time is endless, delay feels harmless. But when the clock is ticking, suddenly the excuses start sounding weaker. You stop waiting for motivation and start relying on commitment, because you know time won't wait for your mood to be right. Time keeps moving, and if you want to grow, you have to move with it. Deadlines also help with focus. When you have a clear timeline, you can break your goal down into weeks, then days, then tasks. You know what you need to do today to stay on track. You stop getting distracted by every shiny opportunity or urgent interruption. You start guarding your time like it matters, because it does. The beautiful thing about a deadline is that it gives you an endpoint, and sometimes that's what gives you the energy to start. It says, this won't take forever. Just give me your best for this stretch. And that makes even big goals feel doable, because now it's just a matter of time, effort, and consistency. So don't let your dreams hang in the air, waiting for someday. Put a date on them. Put it on your wall, in your calendar, on your mirror. Look at it every day. Let it speak to you. Let it challenge you. Let it remind you that the future isn't just something that happens. It's something you build, piece by piece, on a schedule you set. And that schedule starts with one powerful tool, a deadline. Every goal you set comes with a silent demand, not just what you must do to achieve it, but who you must become in the process. And that part often gets overlooked. People get so focused on the result, the promotion, the house, the business, the body, that they forget the most important ingredient, transformation. You don't attract success by chance. You attract it by becoming the kind of person who deserves it, who earns it, who can handle it. That's the real challenge. Not just getting the goal, but growing into the version of yourself that can sustain it. You want to build wealth? That's great. But ask yourself, who must I become to earn, manage, and multiply money? Maybe you'll need to become more disciplined, more patient, more educated about your spending and investing. Because here's the truth. If you hand $1 million to someone who hasn't developed the habits and mindset of someone who knows how to handle it, that money won't stay for long. You want a fulfilling relationship? Wonderful. But again, ask, what kind of person attracts and maintains that kind of connection? Maybe you'll need to become more emotionally aware. Maybe it means learning how to communicate more clearly, how to listen better, how to set boundaries, how to give without keeping score. The relationship you want lives on the other side of the person you haven't fully become yet. The goal acts like a mirror. It reflects not just what you want, but what you lack. And that's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to work on. It's a gift. The goal pulls you into growth. It stretches you beyond your current identity.